Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. Hope that work week has been a good one and that it's in the rearview mirror. We're brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. If you're still on the clock, we'll get you to the finish line here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Got tons to do as we get to the weekend. Preston Guy in 15 minutes talking Tiger football. LSU's got a new defensive line coach, reportedly. We'll talk about that. It's senior day for LSU on the hardwood tomorrow. I'm here at this point where we're not going to break down LSU and Texas A&M very much with a lot of in-depth analysis. I'd like to talk about Cam Carter, and I'll do that at 1:30 coming up. Should the Saints be in on Paulson Adebo? Do they have a chance to sign Paulson Adebo? We're talking about it. We will have Doug Thompson on in the second hour as well as LSU gets ready for a 3-game set with North Alabama, the final non-conference weekend of the season. So let's get started the same way we start things up every single day. That's with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Look, I think the news of the day, obviously, is a report that Kyle Williams will be LSU's new defensive line coach. In the effort of kind of keeping things jumping about topics, we're going to start with baseball today and talk about Kyle Williams with Preston coming up in the next segment. So let's start with LSU and North Alabama today, tomorrow, and Sunday. We'll see how the weather works out, but that's the way it's scheduled right now. This is, again, the final pre-conference weekend. And at this point, I think everybody in the fan base, I think those who cover the team like myself, and I certainly think that the guys in the uniforms are ready to go play an SEC opponent. But you got one more weekend to lock in and play. And you bring in a team here in North Alabama that is not very good. They're 3-8 on the season. Because we're this early in the season, I can tell you how they got there. They beat Army 2 out of 3 on opening weekend. They split 2 games with St. Louis and lost 1 on a weekend due to weather. They got swept at UAB, and they scored 3 total runs in that entire 3-game series against the Blazers. They are 0-3 in midweek. They've lost to Auburn, Tennessee, and Belmont, who beat them just a couple of days ago. So it's not a very good team. I'll give you just a couple of nuggets on why this team's not good, and we'll immediately switch over to what I'm looking for with LSU. But this is a team whose best player, best hitter, is Jonathan Lane. He's one of the 3 guys who's an everyday starter for them. They basically play everybody they can possibly play, and none of it goes particularly well. But Jonathan Lane is their leadoff hitter. He's been the best guy they've had all year. He's hitting .292 with 1 extra base hit. That's the best bat they got. He's got 2 walks and 12 strikeouts in the leadoff spot. Not a great offensive club. You look at the rotation, and the one thing that I do like that they're going to offer is they're going to throw a right-hander and then a left-hander probably in the first 2 games. So LSU will get an opportunity to kind of keep working that platoon. You're not going to see like 3 guys that look exactly the same. You are going to be able to throw some left-handers in there tonight if you want. Throw some some right-handed hitters in there tomorrow if you want. But you see a little bit of variation. Trip Patterson has been pretty good for them as a left-handed pitcher. He's 1-1 through 3 weeks. His ERA is 1.37. And last week against UAB, this is an interesting line score. You don't see this very often. But against UAB last week, he threw 8 innings, which is phenomenal. Gave up 2 hits and 1 run, which is phenomenal. He had 2 walks and 1 strikeout. How often do you see a guy work 8 innings in a game and have 1 strikeout? That's very rare. But he's a very slender 6'2" left-hander, and LSU will probably see him tomorrow. But nothing that North Alabama does is particularly impressive. Their offense is not any good. Their pitching staff is not very good. This is more about LSU, as really this has been since they started this in the middle of February. And so these are some of the things that I'm looking for from LSU, and it very, very, very much starts with tonight. To me, the biggest thing that I'm looking for before we get into this, if there's a situation where I need a closer to get 3 outs late, or a situation where LSU's got to execute with runners on base late in the game, or there's a key moment in a game, certainly that takes precedence over this preview. But as I'm previewing the weekend, the one thing that I know for sure I'm going to be looking for from LSU starts with Cade Anderson. And Cade Anderson, you all know, has hit a wall in all 3 of his starts. It did not show up in the scorebook on opening day, but he did lose about 3 miles an hour off of his fastball on opening day in his last inning. And then you have seen in the 6th inning, both against Omaha and last week against Kansas State, he has hit a wall. And the statistics bear this out. This is one of those deals, I tell you all the time how I go do some research, and at times the research backs me up, and at times I find something new in the course of doing the research. This instance, it completely backs up what everyone is aware that he's hit this wall, and it is the 3rd trip through the lineup. These are the numbers. In the first 2 trips through the lineup, so 1 through 9, the first 2 times, the first 18 men that Cade Anderson faces thus far, hitters are 5 for 48. That is a 104 batting average. 5 for 48. He struck out 24 and walked 4. So again, first 2 times through the order, 104 batting average, 5 for 48, 24 strikeouts, and 4 walks. That's 6-1. The 3rd time through the order, obviously a very small sample, but an amazing sample. 5 for 8, 2 home runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. 5 for 8, 2 home runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. It's remarkable the 3rd time teams are getting a look at him. So that's the key for Cade Anderson. And the best part about that quote-unquote problem is that that's the most predictable problem you can have. In January and February, you are not stretching out to 80 pitches. You are keeping that thing humming right around 40 to 45 pitches. That's how you're fine-tuning things. You're working your stamina. You're getting your arm adjusted to it. That's what January and February are for. It's cold. You haven't thrown a lot of innings. You're just ramping up. And so it's expected that you would potentially run into some bumps. And the 3rd time through the order is a new baseball analytic thing. I say new, it's a decade old basically, but they determined about a decade ago the 3rd time through the order, pitchers that aren't Hall of Famers at the major league level really start to struggle. And that's why you've seen most teams start yanking starters after 5 innings. If it's not Jacob deGrom in his prime, then after 5 innings, you're usually coming out, and they go to the bullpen guy that throws 100. And so this is not a Cade Anderson issue. This is just general baseball. But it's something the best college pitchers can work through. It's a door they can knock down. And so Cade Anderson, in a low-stretch situation tonight, will have an opportunity to knock that door down. I will be locked in on Cade Anderson from pitches 80 to 105. And I think they like him to get around 100 pitches tonight. And that's the most important development for this LSU team because I think they can use depth to build a lineup and build a pitching staff and win a lot of games, win a lot of weekends. But that ace, man, it's such a big deal. Tennessee won without one last year. It can be done. But man, is it a big feather in your cap to have one. And he's the guy with the best chance to be that. He's shown it the first 2 times through the lineup. Teams cannot hit him. They're hitting $1. 3rd time through, not great. We'll see if he can break that door down in the game tonight. You look at the other big key to this game, and this is one that you're just going to, it's more of an eye test than anything. It's the catching, and they need to do a better job. You look at Cade Anderson and Chase Shores, those are the 2 starters that Luis Hernandez has caught for 3 weeks. They've combined for just 1 wild pitch. In game 2s, Anthony Ianson is pitching, Cade Arambidi is catching, and Ianson's got 5 wild pitches. So that's where it starts, because those are the guys you know are going to go in there. And those are the guys that you can more so control who's catching. Of course, you can put whatever catcher you want into a game in the middle, but you may be taking somebody out at that point. So I fully expect, I say this in all honesty, I fully expect Cade Arambidi on May 15th to be a better defensive catcher than he is today. And I don't want to spend a lot of time like harping on a freshman struggling early, but it's very evident when you watch the games and you understand how critical free bases can be in this ruthless SEC that even when you're beating some teams that aren't very good in the midweeks or on the weekends early in the season, you're seeing these free bases. And you got to cut that out. And we talked about this in January and early February, like, Cade Arambede's taking a big step up in class here, catching. The stuff on this LSU staff is absurd. Anthony Ionson's throwing 5 pitches up there. Kason Evans throws 100. You're seeing wicked breaking stuff from William Schmidt that doesn't quite have the command that he will have in his time at LSU. Same thing goes with Maverick Rizzi, who's throwing 97 miles an hour. And it's not like he's catching Aaron Nola here. I think Cade Arambede would be really good at catching Aaron Nola. A lot of strikes, a lot of command, pinpoint control, hitting the corners. I think he'd be great. He's trying to catch some guys that are in early season form and have big-time stuff. Jacob Myers, not that easy to catch right now. So it's a process, and I think Arambede will get better. Hernandez has been pretty good, but they've got to pick their game up, and that's something that Josh Jordan works with them on a lot, and it's something that we'll be watching for 3 more games here. I fully expect, like I have the last few weeks, that LSU will take care of their business this weekend. I don't have a lot of concerns that things will go sideways. I just don't think North Alabama is very good, but it's baseball. North Dakota State's terrible, and they took control of the game on Tuesday right from the jump. But with LSU's best arms out there, I feel like they're going to be in control. I'll be watching for some ancillary things. Cade Anderson, 3rd trip through the order, and the catching has got to get better. We'll talk about LSU's offense as we go forward in the show today, but LSU's got to get off to a good start, control the weekend, and then we'll get to SEC play coming up next week. So much looking forward to that. That's our opening drive, brought to you by Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every car that is on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Good time to remind you, it is a Lenten Friday. My wife texted me that just a minute ago, and I hadn't really thought about that this morning. But that's the case, and if you're looking to abstain from meat and want some great seafood, no better spot than Corks. They've got phenomenal jumbo Gulf fried shrimp. They've got phenomenal crispy, clean fried catfish, those shoestring fries, hush puppies, crawfish etouffee, all of it. You want to get kind of a more hearty meal, they can do baked potato with crawfish etouffee over the top of it, and those jumbo shrimp on the top of that. Pretty good for a Lenten Friday, all Lenten season long. You want to get something that's a little on the seafood side, Corks has got you covered. Check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. We'll come back talking Kyle Williams, LSU's new defensive line coach, with Preston Guy. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Safety's a big deal in the bathroom, especially as folks get up in age. If there's someone in your life who's getting up there in age a little bit but wants to stay home, might have a hazardous situation here and there in the bathroom, do what you can to mitigate it. You can't completely eliminate that risk, but you can mitigate it. And David Duvall and his team do that kind of stuff all the time. Non-slip floors, guardrails around the slippery places. They can do a walk-in tub. They can do showers with a bench in them. All that is very, very doable, and it's stuff they do all the time. So if that's something you're interested in, start that process with a free consultation today. That doesn't cost you anything to have David Duvall and his team come over and kind of see what your space looks like and what they can do for you. It's David Duvall and his team at One Bath and Closets. You can find them online, onebathandclosets.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wild.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Hope your work week's been a good one. Thanks for hanging out with us here on this Friday. It's the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Time to talk some Tiger football. For that, we go with our guy, Preston Guy, TigerBait.com. Joins us on the Jim's Fire and Hotline. Preston, how are you?
Hi, what's going on, man?
Well, they're hiring defensive line coaches, reportedly. So let's talk about it. Obviously, a big gut punch last week when Bo Davis decided to leave for the NFL, and the search was on for a new position coach, I guess the 8th one in 6 years or so. And it sounds like they've landed on Kyle Williams. What do you make of that news?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway with LSU and its defensive line coaching position, you need continuity at that position very badly. And ultimately, this is why you pay a coach 10-year, $100 million contract that's 90% guaranteed, because you need his 30 years of expertise to be able to look into coaches and figure out if they're going to be a good fit and able to recruit and develop elite players. Kyle Williams is a guy who has never coached at the collegiate level, minor or major. He was the defensive coordinator for Ruston High School, state championship performance there for them. Developed Ahmad Bro, who is, we saw play as a freshman. So, some good signs there that, he is able to develop players, certainly. But a guy who was not coached on the collegiate level is taking his first job at LSU. Now, I will tell you this. It is not for lack of ability to be able to crack into the college coaching game. LSU didn't think they were going to be able to pull him. They thought he did not want the job, and I'm told they had to pull out a lot of stops to convince him to take the job. I guess he liked a peaceful high school coaching life over, the strain of dealing with NIL and college pressure. But, he's now back at his alma mater, and he brings 13 years NFL veteran experience with him.
Do you find this to be a gamble?
Of course it's a gamble. I think there's a lot of people who are out there right now saying that it's not a risk, and a lot of people who are very smart know a lot of good college football, and I get why they are high on Kyle Williams, but I refuse to believe that everybody wouldn't be more confident if, let's say, he had this same resume, right, but also had 5 years of proven development and recruiting at the college level. I'm 100% certain that we would feel a little more confident in that. And, anytime somebody's never done something in their life before, you think they might have good signs, but I'm not saying it'll be a bad hire by any stretch of the imagination here. I'm just saying we haven't seen him do it yet. So until we see him do it, there's always going to be a little shroud of doubt. So, yeah, I think, of course, it's a risk to hire a guy without any experience, but you see why it might be worth the risk, particularly if he sticks around for many years. which is what LSU needs desperately. I believe in the last 12 years they've had 11 coaches. So you really got to right that ship in a big way.
I know we have in the last couple of weeks talked about the defensive line at length, but just kind of your thoughts now that you know who their leader is and his fit, along with what LSU's got specifically at defensive tackle. How does that look this spring?
Yeah, hopefully it'll be a quick transition. I think the connection with Ahmad Bro in terms of chemistry and being able to quickly gel, that's a big piece there by itself, right? But I don't think it'll take him very long to get comfortable and set up with the personnel here. And we're talking about a position that's fairly ideal. If you're going to make your debut into collegiate coaching, you don't have to worry about scheme. You don't have to worry about, developing playbooks and all that good stuff. And it's highly specialized because essentially, you're coaching basically just defensive tackles at this position because there's an edge coach there with Kevin Peoples. So he gets to come in, hyper-focus on one position, and a position where you have to drill technique, leverage, explosiveness almost exclusively. Because, defensive tackle, basically, hey, the assignment is, are you going right or are you going left? It's a little more complicated than that if you've actually ever played the position, but it's not an overly complicated one. So, yeah, I like the situation he's walking into, no doubt.
I was a little surprised when I was looking up Kyle Williams' bio to write something up for our site. I had forgotten that he was fifth-round pick. I think of Kyle Williams as an All-American, a national champion, and then a perennial Pro Bowler. I had not remembered that he wasn't, the 41st pick in the draft. I think that says something about the fact that you stick around that long at that to have a technical idea of what you're doing there to stick around for that long.
Yeah, that also caught me off guard when I was looking him up yesterday. I was like, really? Fifth rounder? Because he was so good at LSU.
Yeah.
By the way, I just want to point out that he was smack dab in the middle of Glenn Dorsey and Chad Lavallee and still made a name for himself. So defensive tackle here at LSU. So that's what an era of defensive tackle that Saban started and Miles continued doing there at LSU. It was a pretty crazy era. But, yeah, you just kind of forget in the middle that he wasn't that highly touted as an NFL. He was a great college player, not highly touted as an NFL prospect, and then played 13 years with the Buffalo Bills. And has a borderline Hall of Fame career, if you ask me. Six-time Pro Bowler. It's kind of crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, one time second-team All-Pro. So spring ball starts up tomorrow. We won't get some access until a little bit later on in the week. But is there anything that you're particularly interested in? I'll give you the entirety of the roster. What stands out to you entering spring ball?
All right, so we went from hyper-focused on defensive tackles to the entire roster.
That's right.
Give me 1 second. Offensive line is a big one I'll be looking at.
Let me ask you a direct question there. Josh Thompson comes over having played right guard and right tackle at Northwestern. You've got a reasonable feel for the amount of young prospects that LSU is bringing up towards the starting rotation. Do you have a feel for where they would like to play him?
Probably guard, if I had to guess. They got that's where he's played most of his snaps at Northwestern, and he kind of has a guard build. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's spring if they're rotating a lot of guys in different spots. Would you? You're breaking in 4 new guys, and the one guy you're bringing back, he's probably moving to guard as well. Braylon Moore is the one I think will be your starting center, but I could see them playing around a lot of these guys. Couldn't you?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I was thinking about this as I was thinking about writing stuff and talking about things for previewing spring ball. It's like I'm not sure Brad Davis feels like he needs to have a rough draft of the starting 5 after spring. He's got a whole summer and then probably 3 weeks of fall camp to evaluate where everybody fits. I think it's just about developing guys and making sure they're at the right position and then let them compete.
That's absolutely right. Just stick them out there. See what works. I think there's probably some guys they've got a really good idea. Tyree Adams, I think they really want him at left tackle, right? But, let them go do some reps and see what sticks. There's some guys who certain positions, like I remember for me in my career, I played right tackle very well, and I was horrible at left tackle. And just until you get those reps and see what it looks like, just just play around with it until you get something that sticks, and then work on bonding and chemistry and all that good stuff. But you're definitely going to have to do a lot of playing around with a lot of these guys. Maybe Tyree Adams is like that. Maybe he was really good at right tackle, but left tackle ain't working for him. Who knows until you see him out there.
How big a 3-week, 4-week period is this for DJ Pickett?
It's big. I'd probably say the 3 or 4 week period before the season starts is bigger, right? But in terms of how much he's going to learn, he's going to be learning a tremendous amount, and we're going to get to see if he's what he's cracked up to be. And I believe he'll be a starting corner, or if he's not. I mean, this will be his first time lining up against college players and getting to see how you measure up. Can you tackle? Can you cover? Do you struggle keeping up with assignments? What's the learning curve like for you? So I think it's huge in terms of his personal development. In terms of his pecking order, whether he starts or not, I don't think they're going to do much. I mean, if anything, it'll determine who gets the first team reps when they open up fall camp. But they're going to be doing a lot more evaluation during that period than this.
I wrote this and said this yesterday. Nick Anderson has played 1 season of football in the last 3. He has not played with Garrett Nussmeier. He has not learned Joe Sloan's offense. I feel like this is an important 4 weeks for him. If he's going to be the dude, not suggesting he can't catch on pretty quickly, but he hadn't played a ton of football and he hadn't played with Garrett Nussmeier in this offense. I think that this is a beneficial time for him.
I mean, it's huge for him in terms of, and not to mention, learning the offense, but can he stay healthy?
Yeah.
That's a massive concern for him. Now, the good news is you got a deep receiving room. They hit the portal hard, right? I mean, you got Aaron Anderson coming back, who was your leading receiver a year ago. Chris Hilton looked really hot in the bowl game, and you could see a lot of these guys why you could make the argument for they're going to be your number one, okay? And then there's guys like Xavion Thomas, who's a great depth piece. Kyle Parker they loved before the injury, right? Jelani Watkins, who's the fastest guy on the team, and nobody's even talking about him, right? And then you bring in Berrien Brown out of Kentucky, who also has a chance to be your number one guy. So that's why for Nick Anderson and the conversation around him, yes, a lot of pressure on him to stay healthy, go out there and play ball, right? But you've got a lot of pieces to turn to if it doesn't pan out with him for whatever reason.
Tell us what y'all got coming at Tiger Bait. I know spring ball's a big time for y'all.
Oh, absolutely. We'll be there. We'll be doing the practice reports brought to you by Smoky Investment, as people like to throw that sponsor in there a bunch. It's just funny to me how that's the one thing we do where everybody mentions the sponsor right after that. Anyways, we'll be doing that. I fill in for Buddy Sanji sometimes and do that. We'll be all over it, boots on the ground. And, of course, recruiting is also a massive piece during spring camp, as a lot of recruits like to come in and we get lots of stories. So y'all make sure to tune in to tigerbait.com and our YouTube channel. We're going to start up. We'll be doing spring game coverage as well, spring game shows. So it's picking up again. Football season is here once again.
It's always football season around these parts of the world. I know that as well as anybody. So we appreciate some time. Have a great weekend, Preston.
See you soon, hon.
Preston Guy, tigerbait.com. Always appreciate his time on a Friday. We'll come back, and I'm not going to break down LSU and Texas A&M on the hardwood for Senior Day, but Cam Carter has been awesome, and I'd like to share some of the reasons why when we come back. We'll do that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. When I say Genesis of Baton Rouge, you should think luxury at this point. It's a luxury brand of vehicles. And when I say luxury, you probably got some names, some brands that pop into your head, and you think, I can't afford that. Just give it a shot. You won't know until you go look. You can check them out at genesisofbatonrouge.com. But the model at Genesis is a luxury brand of vehicles at a reasonable price. Safety, style, sleek, comfortable. It's all there in one package, from the sedan all the way up through the SUV. Give it a try. Go by their dealership at Airline and Pico. Get behind the wheel. Let one of their brand ambassadors walk you through the entire process. You can start your process at genesisofbatonrouge.com as well. If you're going to buy a vehicle in Baton Rouge, you're probably going to be on Airline Highway. That's where most of the dealerships tend to be. Make one more stop. Stop at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you in there, and just see what the difference is. I promise you will not be disappointed. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Find them online at genesisofbatonrouge.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you. At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-34.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
All right, LSU is going to finish up its regular season tomorrow in the Assembly Center with Texas A&M. A&M's a ranked team. They had lost 4 in a row until they beat Auburn. They're in the tournament, and they'll probably be a top 6 seed in the tournament. And I don't have a ton of interest in breaking down the Aggies position by position for a team that's about to finish 3-15 in the league and go to the SEC tournament with really nothing to play for. It's disappointing. We've talked about it really for
They actually will have something to play for, Hunt.
They will be playing for the SEC championship. That is correct.
And if they win, they'll be in the tournament.
That is exactly right. You've brought up.
It is a factual statement.
You've brought up an excellent point that I had not considered to this point.
It's a factual statement.
I'll go ahead and make a note of that right here on the old pad and paper.
Okay,
and
good.
we'll revisit that at a different time.
All right.
However, I did want to take some time to just talk about Cam Carter, because Cam Carter left a really good basketball program at Kansas State, where he had been to an Elite Eight as a starter, and wanted to come home and play for the Purple and Gold. He's from Donaldsonville, wanted to come back and play for LSU. He said repeatedly that meant a ton to him. We talked to him post-game a few times in November and December, and he talked about that repeatedly, like I said. And LSU is not really in a position to go get the elite of the elite transfers. We'll see when they spend a little bit more money, but generally speaking, to be successful at LSU right now, you're going to have to identify traits and characteristics of talented players and bring them in and develop them into a much better player than they probably were elsewhere. And when you say that, well, oh, you're playing in the kids into the pool. Wait a second. Like, I'm talking about guys like Dalton Knecht from Tennessee, who they found at basically a junior college. I'm talking about Janai Broome at Auburn, who was at Morehead State and has blossomed into a superstar player. Like, LSU's never going to get Cooper Flagg. I'm talking about Mark Sears at Alabama, who came from Ohio and has developed in a system. That's how LSU's going to have to do this. Now, you're going to have to identify those guys and spend a little bit more money than they have, and you'll hope. But guys like Cam Carter can pan out. And LSU's kind of had one guy a year do that. KJ Williams did that. I thought that Jordan Wright had a good year last year. And Cam Carter this year has done exactly what you hope you can have a guy come in and do. It reminds me a little bit of Tari Eason. Now, Tari Eason was 6'9", and a better athlete and is an NBA player, and I don't think Cam Carter is, but Tari Eason came to LSU and made a huge jump. And Cam Carter came to LSU and made a huge jump. He deserves a ton of credit for that. The LSU coaching staff deserves credit for that. Now, the rest of the guys did not, and you've gone into lower levels, and you've tried to pick guys who have had real good careers at lower levels and bring them up to the SEC, and that hasn't really worked out. You could point to a lot of examples of that over the last 3 years. I'm not here to drag kids down, but the basketball team's not that big. Just look at the guys they've gotten who have transferred over the last 3 years from smaller schools that they've come in. A lot of times it has not translated. But look at the jump that Cam Carter made this year from his third year in college at Kansas State to his fourth year at LSU. He went up 2 points per game from 14.6 to 16.8. From a field goal perspective, he went from a 39% shooter to a 44% shooter. That's from an inefficient, low-level player to a more efficient, that's an average field goal percentage for a guard. Shooting 44%, that's good. I mean, it's a good field goal percentage. But this is where the big jump actually came. And this is where, when Matt McMahon was talking about Cam Carter, when they got him in the transfer portal last summer and in preseason workouts, he said he was not an efficient player last year. He didn't shoot a great percentage from three, and he turned the ball over too much. 3-point percentage at Kansas State. He was a 31% shooter last year. He was 59 for 191. 31%. He's going to shoot 41% this year. That is a 10-point jump. In fact, his numbers are almost identical to this point. He shot 191 threes last year. He shot 188 this year, 3 less. So it's basically the same. He's gone from 59 makes to 76. That is 17 more makes. Incredibly efficient, an incredible jump in Cam Carter. And that's going from a really good Big 12 into a really good SEC. He's upped his free throw percentage by 2 points, 84 to 86%. And then the turnover number, it's been incredible. Last year, as a primary ball handler for Kansas State, 101 turnovers. 101. This year, 70. He's cut 30 turnovers off his game. 30. And I would submit that on this LSU team, he's getting more attention than he did last year in Manhattan. And he has driven that number way, way down. It's been awesome to watch Cam Carter blossom into a great player. And I sincerely hope they find some room for him on an all-conference team. I'm not talking about the first team. I would submit he should be on the second team. There are guys with better numbers. There are guys who have contributed more to winning. There is not a guy in the entire conference that means more to his team than Cam Carter does to LSU. Now, you can say that's because of the guys around him as opposed to just how great he is, but the point remains. Auburn lost Janai Broome, and they won some games because they have an incredible roster. Wade Taylor's brilliant. He's got his number already in the rafters. He's not even done playing at A&M. But without Cam Carter, if they lose him instead of Jordan Reed, in December, I'm not sure they win a game in the league. I'm not sure they win a single game. And it may be just a 3-win difference, but let's bring that up from 0 to 3, and let's go into a different stratosphere here, and let's call it from 10 to 13. 10-8 to 13-5. That you're talking about 2 or 3 lines of seeding, depending on who those wins are against. It's a big, big deal. It's not a big deal to LSU, who goes from not in the tournament or the NIT to not in the tournament or the NIT. But that, I think, is his impact on this team. And every single night, the opposition comes off the floor for warm-ups and goes into the locker room with the dry erase board, and his face is plastered on it. That's what teams have had to look at for 3 months now. And he has excelled and brought his game to a different level for the entirety of the season. This will be a lost season in LSU fans' minds. They will not remember this year at all. But that, to me, doesn't take away from what Cam Carter has accomplished. And I've noticed it. I've talked many times about how I just like watching LSU play. 2 years ago, they were the worst team in the SEC. And I was going to games when I wasn't covering them, buying tickets off StubHub for $4 and sitting by myself in there because I like to watch LSU play basketball. I realize that they didn't win a lot. They're not winning a lot this year. It's just I like to watch LSU in the purple and gold uniforms go out there and play a sport that I like to watch. And so I've watched every game that LSU's played. And most of you have not, and for good reason, because it has not been very rewarding at all. But I have watched Cam Carter go out there and do this every night. And for me, I think to cover this team, to talk to you, and to go the entire season and not have this segment where I highlight just what he's done would have been an injustice to him. And by the way, as an outside piece to this, off the floor, you're talking about a young man who, as I said, has consistently talked about how much it means to play for his home state school and to play in front of his family and friends who have gotten to just drive up the road from Donaldsonville and watch him play. But also, and I don't know who came up with this because all the players have done it dating back to November. And I think there are probably some people in the media who are uncomfortable with it. I don't really care. I think it's a symbol of who those kids really are. After they get off the podium from doing the post-game interviews, whether they've beaten, I don't even remember who they played in the non-conference, honestly. They played a couple of SWAC schools. I think they played Alabama State. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
They played whether it's Alabama State who they beat by 30 or getting dusted by Texas on their home floor. Those kids, including Cam, who's always up there because he's always the guy we have to talk to because he always leads the team in scoring. They come off the podium, they go down, and they dap up everybody in the media. Now, there are some old school media people who I'm sure say that's not professional. Media members shouldn't dap up the players. You're covering the team. You should be impartial and all that, and that's fine if you want to believe that. I don't really give a rip about any of that stuff at all. You're sitting here watching me do this radio show. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm wearing an LSU shirt, quarter zip, and hat. Here we are. But I think it's representative of those guys respecting that there's a job for those people to do, appreciating them for the coverage, and understanding that win or lose, there's a responsibility for you to do part of your job. And as a collegiate athlete, and in the SEC, it's to go up there and answer some questions about it. And they have consistently given that respect to the media, which I think is cool. And Cam's been a huge part of that. So, again, senior night tomorrow, I'm hopeful that those that go decide to go a little bit early because they're going to honor Cam Carter and Jordan Sears, and I don't want to leave anybody out, but they've got a number of freshmen, a number of seniors to honor before the game. That's just the nature of college hoops these days. A lot of seniors playing college basketball. But Cam Carter should get a nice ovation and should feel like he did his job this year because you watch the games, you see it, you look at the stat sheet, you see it. That's a guy that was exceptional all year long and probably doesn't deserve what the one-loss record says because, and look, the guy put a Superman cape on in Norman. LSU loses that game by 6 in the last 20 seconds if he's not out there. But he's been that good. So one more time in the PMAC for Cam Carter and the Tiger Seniors tomorrow. I just wanted to take some time to give that a mention. So appreciate y'all for humoring me on that one. We'll come back and close out our number one when we come back on this Friday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Friday shows brought to you by Corks. Get on by for a seafood po' boy on this Lenten Friday. They got a good one. They got a couple of good ones. They got the fried shrimp po' boy. They got the catfish po' boy. Loaded those golden brown jumbo Gulf shrimp or that crispy fried catfish. Fully dressed, lettuce, tomato. Make it happen over at Corks. Government between Foster and Jefferson. CorksFishandShrimp.com. LSU baseball cranking up here at 6:30 tonight. LSU and North Alabama. I got a few more topics I'd like to hit. You can find my series preview every single Friday over at LouisianaSports.net. We call it our series snapshot. And I've got just some subtitles of what I'm looking for each and every weekend. And two of them that I'll get to here. One is LSU's offense. Very, very consistent all year. They've scored 7+ games in 8 straight. 7+ runs in 8 straight games, I should say. They've just really had one 10-inning stretch this year where they couldn't do anything. And that was, of course, against Omaha in the one game that they got nearly no hit in and lost. And the previous day they didn't do much in the late innings. But outside of that, they've been very, very good. They're drawing 7.2 walks per game. They're getting hit by pitches a ton, 24 in 14 games. Their batting average is .333. Their on-base percentage, more importantly, is .466. It's been a very, very solid go early on. Now, I think that you need more than just an asterisk, like 3 big, bold asterisks around the competition because it's bad. And we'll learn more about them moving forward. But I think what we have a pretty good feel for right now is that LSU's not going to hit a ton of home runs. They may hit enough home runs. They're not going to hit a ton of them. And I like lineups that look like the one 2 years ago where they hit a ton of homers. I like the way that Tennessee bashes the ball out of the ballpark a lot. That, to me, is the best formula to win. Now, I don't need to have 5 guys that hit a lot of home runs and 4 guys that can't hit at all, and then it's live and die by it. You need to have a little bit of balance to your lineup. But I like 6 or 7 guys in that lineup that are a threat to fly the coop at any point. And I don't know that LSU has that. So the experiment here, and I don't know if that's the right term for it, but I think something that I'll be watching is like, is this a good way to win games? Like, can you be really, really good by drawing walks? Or an SEC team's going to walk you enough by collecting singles, hitting the ball in the gap, maybe using a sacrifice bunt here and there, using a safety squeeze here and there, and mixing in some home runs? Is that a successful method? I would suggest probably, but we're going to see. And we're not going to learn anything about that this week because you're playing a North Alabama team that doesn't pitch it very good. But I think that's probably the identity of this offense. It was probably going to be the identity of the offense back in January and early February. The question is, like, how much power does Milam hit with? How much power does Dickinson hit with? How much power does Brown hit with? How much power does Luis Hernandez hit with? Those are questions I want to see. I don't know how much power Curiel's going to hit with. Really, you're the guys I know how much power I'm going to get. Braswell, very little. Jones, a ton. And that's kind of it. Like, I think that you could argue both ways with Ethan Fry. You could argue both ways with Josh Pearson. You could argue both ways with Curiel, with Milam, Dickinson. So the variance there is probably going to be the most telling indication of what LSU's offense becomes. And I'll be curious to kind of watch it unfold. Other than that, this week, maybe Connor Ware works out of the bullpen this week. He threw 60 pitches on Tuesday. We know it did not go well. I contend that he's going to be a bullpen piece that LSU wants to use on the weekends when SEC play gets here. Do you want to slide him into a bullpen spot here on Sunday? Like William Schmidt pitched on Tuesday of last week and then came back Monday of last week and came back on Saturday. So if Ware pitches Tuesday of this week, it stands to reason he could come back on Sunday, maybe give you 2 innings out of the bullpen as kind of an audition to what that looks like. You've seen Ware start 2 games. Do you think you want to continue that? Do you want to see him start this coming Tuesday in a game against Xavier? Or do you want to see him out of the bullpen where he might be against Missouri the following weekend? I think that it's interesting. Connor Ware got off to a great start. I know the last taste that he's got in his mouth is a bitter one because he did not have his command at all in the game on Tuesday against North Dakota State. But he's going to be good. He's got plenty of stuff. Fastball's good enough. Breaking ball's really good. Changeup's devastating. Like, he's fine. He had 7 no-hit innings to start the season. So you just got to get him back up on the horse, whether that's this weekend out of the bullpen or coming up in the midweek. He and William Schmidt are the 2 guys that you're going to see what Jay Johnson thinks of their roles coming up in the next 4 games. I'm curious to see how they're deployed in the next 4. Are they both bullpen guys? Does he want to extend them and continue to do that in the midweek, even if an SEC weekend's coming up? Like, these are questions that are going to be answered within the next 4 games, which come over the course of the next 1, 2, 3, 5 days. I can do math. Look at that. Next 5 days. You'll figure it out. So curious to see how LSU's offense keeps rolling and what the role is for Connor Ware this weekend. Of course, the series schedule this weekend, as scheduled right now, Friday, 6:30, so that's today, 6:30 first pitch. Eagle 98.1 post game at 6 o'clock. Tomorrow, the weather looks to be iffy, so we'll see. But as of right now, tomorrow, game 2 of the series is set for 6 o'clock. So you can catch pregame at 5:30. Myself and Jeff Palermo be on the call for that one. And then Sunday, a 1 o'clock first pitch. So 6:30 Friday, 6 o'clock Saturday, 1 o'clock Sunday, LSU and the North Alabama Lions from the box this weekend. That'll do it for the first hour here on this Friday. Hope your work week is coming to a close. Appreciate you hanging out with us. If you missed any of the first hour, you can catch it on demand. At this point, you got to know where you can catch it on demand. It's anywhere you find your podcast. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Of course, you can get us on 1045ESPN.com as well. Opened the show with my baseball series thoughts. Preston Guy talking LSU defensive line coach Kyle Williams at 1:15. You can find that at Hunt on LSU. I gave some Cam Carter some flowers at 1:30. Tiger Sr. has been awesome on the hardwood. We'll step aside for Sports Center. Come back, talk some LSU football. What do I think of the Kyle Williams hire? I'll tell you coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
You work hard every day to pursue a life you love. You put in the time, and it shows. You're forging ahead, chasing a dream, creating something better for the ones you love. You're building your own life. So why not build your own tractor? With John Deere tractors and attachments for almost any need, the Sunshine team can help you do just that. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime. At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
I'm Doug Brown. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports the Titans will cut outside linebacker Harold Landry III. He led the team with 9 sacks last season. Tennessee could save as much as $17.5 million in cap space. Adam also reports the Commanders will cut defensive lineman Jonathan Allen after 8 years with the team. Allen had asked to be traded. Washington will save $16.3 million in cap space. With Selection Sunday just 9 days away, the SEC could get 13, maybe even 14 teams into the NCAA tournament. And ESPN's Seth Greenberg believes they could dominate the event.
I think this league, and I think 1985, the Big East, they get 3 teams in the Final Four. The SEC could conceivably get 3 teams in the Final Four: Auburn, Alabama, and Florida.
Seth Greenberg on Get Up. The NHL trade deadline just passed moments ago. ESPN's Emily Kaplan reports the Dallas Stars get Mikko Rantanen from the Hurricanes.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming up Monday before NFL free agency starts. I'll tell you the players your team should avoid paying. It's Unsportsmanlike, weekday mornings at 6, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Hope your work week is winding down. We're working towards the weekend. It'll be a wet one tomorrow in the capital city, but it's time off, and hopefully you haven't had that long of a work week because you were off the first 2 days. But we weren't, but hopefully you were off the first 2 days, and we'll get you to the finish line either way. Let's talk some LSU football here to kick off our final hour of the week. Yesterday, Report Service, the Advocate, Wilson Alexander had it first, and I was able to corroborate it as well, that Kyle Williams has been targeted and will indeed become LSU's defensive backs coach. Probably not. Defensive tackles coach here in the next couple of days. LSU starts spring practice tomorrow. You know Kyle Williams. Kyle Williams played his high school football at Ruston High. He was at LSU from 2002 to 2005. He was a 2-time All-SEC player. He was a first-team All-American. He was a national champion, and then was drafted by the Buffalo Bills in the 5th round of the 2006 draft. And he played his entire 13-year career with the Buffalo Bills. He was one of the best defensive tackles in football. He was a 6-time Pro Bowler. He was once a second-team All-Pro. There is no doubting his credentials as a player. He was great in high school. He was great in college. He was great in the NFL for a long time. And he decided after he finished his career in 2018, take a couple of years, and then he went back home to Ruston. And he coached the Ruston Bearcats as their defensive coordinator. And we know won a state championship this past year. And I think Bo Davis caught LSU by surprise. Not when we found out about it, LSU knew, but when Bo Davis made this decision to go coach the Saints, I think that caught LSU a little bit by surprise. I think when Brian Kelly hired Bo Davis, he thought he had his defensive line coach for at least a handful of years. And so for that to go as quickly as it did in 1 year, I think probably caught LSU by surprise. And I'm not suggesting that Brian Kelly stood there and said, "Oh my God, what in the world will I do now?" He's had enough assistants move on where he knows what that process looks like. But I'm feeling like it's likely that when Brian Kelly heard that, he went, I didn't know I was going to have to do this again. And there were some names reported. Al Davis from Missouri, Joyner at Ole Miss, who's done a great job with their defensive line. There have been names bantied about, but Williams interviewed on Wednesday, and then the report surfaced on Thursday. That's the direction LSU was going. Now, it is reasonable in looking at this hire to suggest, man, LSU, who's just gotten through paying their defensive line coach $1 million and is thought of as one of the top 10 programs in the sport, is hiring a guy who's never coached college football to be the defensive line coach? Like, really? And that is a reasonable thing to say. College football coaching, whether you're a coordinator or position coach, is a grind. It's demanding. It's intense. It's lucrative. And for LSU to hire somebody that's never done it before is telling. It's like, wow, that's a risk. And it is certainly a risk, because you're a great player doesn't make you a great coach. But I think that Kyle Williams has some real positives that will hopefully, if you're an LSU fan, outweigh the negative of 0 in the experience department. One, he's not calling plays. He's teaching the technical aspects of the game, and he's perfectly versed in that. You cannot play 13 years in the NFL as a first-round pick or a fifth-round pick like Kyle Williams if you don't know exactly what the heck you're doing. So he's got that experience. He's from the state of Louisiana. Grew up in Ruston, played at LSU. He'll understand how to sell himself and the program to people in the state of Louisiana. And I think the fact that he has coached high school students for really 4 years gives you a real indication that he knows how to relate to 17 and 18-year-old kids that you're recruiting. And that's a big part of it. Now, learning the ins and outs of how to sell the program and how to close deals and make sure that you've got guys that are filling the pipeline is a little bit different than just talking to the kids who are in your district and go to school with you, coaching them up. But it is still relating to people that are in a different generation than you. And Kyle Williams has done that. So you understand that there are a lot of pros to what Kyle Williams brings to the table. And the idea that someone who was fairly fresh off the field would go into coaching is certainly not foreign. Like, you start to look at the NBA, guys are coming right off the bench, right into coaching roles. Look at the Saints' new head coach. He left the Cowboys quarterback room as the backup and then became the coach. He went from taking reps behind Dak Prescott to calling his plays. Like that. Literally. That quick. So this is kind of the way things are. I think we went from like an age in the 50s and 60s where you had player coaches to like that was really a foreign thing and coaches were a lot older to like now it's everything feels like a young man's game. And Kyle Williams is 41 years old. So I don't know Kyle Williams. I'd never gone into a meeting room with defensive tackles. I don't know the ins and outs of defensive tackle play. I don't know how well he communicates them. Like, I can't sit here and pretend to know a lot of the intricate details. I can weigh this from the outside and suggest it is absolutely a risk for LSU. He absolutely has some credentials. And I can add to this conversation that I've been told, as someone who would know, that Kyle Williams has been approached by multiple NFL franchises to come coach their defensive line. Multiple. Not one, multiple. And Kyle Williams was happy in Ruston. When you play 13 years in the NFL, you don't really have to chase the next salary. You can kind of do whatever the heck you want to do. And I think he liked living in Ruston, coaching the Ruston Bearcats, and playing a lot of golf at Squire Creek, which is awesome, by the way. That's what I think he probably did. And if you're not aware, you're going, Kyle Williams playing golf, he's like 300 pounds. Yeah, and he's awesome. He's a great player. Like, really good. But that's a comfortable life for a 13-year NFL vet. And when you're at Ruston, you can take some time off. You can kind of do things at your speed. When you get into the NFL or even more so college football, like, life changes a lot. And to make that happen for Kyle Williams, it'd have to be a pretty special opportunity. And I don't know which NFL teams approached him, but I know which college team approached him, and I know where he played his college football. Get me? And I'll tell you this. This is Hunt Palmer speaking, not Kyle Williams speaking. If I made as much money as Kyle Williams did in the NFL, and I worked that hard for that long in the NFL, and I could play golf at Squire Creek and not do a damn thing else, that's what I would do. But I certainly wouldn't dive into this era of college football. But feels like he's committed to doing it. And his work ethic is absolutely beyond reproach. So he's going to have to dive in now and make a lot of phone calls on Tuesday nights until 10 o'clock at night and go on a lot of visits to houses all around the country to 17-year-olds. Get to know their moms and dads. And grind, trying to make sure that kids don't leave his program for more money elsewhere or want to jump in the transfer portal because they're not comfortable with their spot on the depth chart, and it's a lot. So there are a lot of moving parts to this entire discussion, but to me, I'm good with the hire. I think it's a good hire. It is not without risk. I think Bo Davis is pretty much without risk. There was very little chance that Bo Davis was going to come in here and not know what the heck to do. And there is more of that risk with Kyle Williams because he's never done it. And anyone who's doing something for the first time is going to have a learning curve. But I feel like you've got enough accolades, enough behind his name, and that high school coaching experience, which I think does matter, especially on the recruiting front, and understanding that he's not calling plays against elite defensive coordinators in the SEC. He's coaching guys how to strike, engage, shed blocks, make plays. He's been doing that for 20 years. So I think it's a good hire. I think it's with risk, but I feel comfortable saying that LSU's got a guy that knows what he's doing in that position. That's my thoughts on Kyle Williams. If you're looking for LSU football content all year round, I can tell you where to find it. Hunt on LSU was our YouTube channel. YouTube channel's done great. Appreciate y'all for subscribing up to that and liking. You can also find it wherever you find your podcast. Just search Hunt on LSU. You'll get LSU football content all year round. Let's take a time out. When we come back, what are we talking about when we come back? I haven't looked. Saints, free agency. One of their own. They have the money for it. We'll talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group. HighlandIG.com is the website. Jonathan Carbo and his team. It's just a fantastic group. I sat in their conference room for like an hour and a half a couple of weeks ago and just talked to their team. And y'all understand that I worked in the insurance business for 7 years, and I can promise you, if you trust the Highland Insurance Group to handle your commercial insurance, you're in really, really good hands. We talk the ins and outs of it, and it's not something that I would highly recommend you go and do for an hour and a half, but understand that insurance is very, very important, and they know what they're doing. And they're helping clients daily make sure that your program responds properly, is structured the right way to, one, make sure that you're covered in the event of a bad situation, and two, make sure that you're in the right hands from a carrier perspective so that your premium is in line with what your insurance is trying to do. If you want to call the Highland Insurance Group and say, hey, I just got my renewal. My renewal comes up in 3 days, and I need you to cut 10, 12% off this. Just don't bother. That's not the reason you would call the Highland Insurance Group. Call them right now and just say, hey, I'd like you to audit my insurance policies and see what this looks like. They'll come back, and if it's really good, they'll say, yeah, you're in the right spot. If they find significant issues, they'll fix them. That's why they write as much business as they do. Jonathan Carbo and his team at the Highland Insurance Group. Check them out online at HighlandIG.com. That's HighlandIG.com.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Save for game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktail. So come out.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Hope your Friday's going well. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Let's talk a little bit of Saints here on this Friday. Getting into free agency time. The NFL, as you know, never sleeps. You go straight from the Super Bowl, and then you get into Combine after coaching carousel season, I guess. And then you get into free agency, which leads right into the draft, which leads into mini camps and schedule selections. You know the drill at this point, but we're now into the free agents portion of this. And I was reading up on Paulson Adebo in a story that Matthew Paris wrote over for The Advocate. And he wrote in the piece that Adebo expects to have several suitors across the league, and it's unlikely he'll have to settle for a one-year prove-it deal. And he would generally not be looking at a one-year prove-it deal based on his age and his production, because Paulson Adebo has been a really good player for the New Orleans Saints. You're looking at a guy who came in as a third-round pick. He was the 76th pick in the 2021 draft, and he was really good in his first 3 full seasons with New Orleans. He played in every game, started every game as a rookie at 22 years old. He played in 13 games, started 12 in 2022. In 2023, he played in 15 games and started all of them, and was a piece to a really strong defensive secondary under Dennis Allen with Marshawn Lattimore on the other side. And you had C.D. Deuce in there at times, and like there were other pieces, but like Paulson Adebo was really good for 4 years. And then in the middle of his 4th season, he has that horrific-looking injury. And at that point, you kind of look and you go, man, like what are teams and their medical staffs going to think of Paulson Adebo? And you understand the salary cap situation the Saints are in, which is strapped a little bit. And if you're looking at a guy that's 25 years old that plays a premium position, and corner at this era of the NFL is a premium position, like that's a guy who's going to command a healthy sum of money unless teams are unwilling to give him that big chunk of change because they haven't seen him post-injury. And the injury didn't look good. So it was reasonable for us analyzing the Saints. It seems inhumane and insensitive, but for us to analyze the Saints going, that injury may price him down to a re-sign with the Saints. Like that's something that you could see, and it would be like that 1 year prove it deal. But Matthew Paris writes that's not what he anticipates is going to happen. Paris continues writing, a source with knowledge of the situation said the Saints haven't closed the door on Adebo, but Adebo is pursuing a deal that would make him one of the league's 10 highest paid corners, a price tag that might put New Orleans out of the hunt. I will say this. If Marshawn Lattimore becomes the 8th highest paid corner in the NFL, it will not be with the New Orleans Saints. I just don't think they can swim in that water right now. I'm well aware that the Saints tend to make almost everything work from a salary cap perspective, but this is something that I just can't envision, especially when you consider the fact they traded up for Kool-Aid McKinstry. You've got Alontae Taylor. They're thin there, but they've got high draft picks and young players invested in that position. And I think they're probably going to ride with that and pass on Adebo. It's just kind of what it feels like. Now, what Adebo expects or demands could be different from what the market dictates. But here's my guess. My guess is Chicago gets involved pretty quickly. That's because Chicago has a lot of money and Dennis Allen is there. Now, caveat. Maybe Paulson Adebo is among that number that was not thrilled with the Dennis Allen era in New Orleans. I don't know. I can't pretend to know. I know there were some players that were disgruntled near the end. Whether Paulson Adebo was one of those or not, I don't know. But Dennis Allen has had a good track record of developing corners. Chicago's got money if they want to pay him. They've fortified their offensive line this week, and they're looking to add elsewhere, and they've got a lot of money left over. And they may jump in there. But if there's a market in a bidding war, that's going to price the Saints out. And this, as much as anything, should reinforce to New Orleans the position that they're in and how non-advantageous it is, detrimental that it is to their pursuit of building a roster. When you have to look at a guy that you drafted, that you've helped develop, that you believe to be a good player, and you simply cannot get into the mix to pay him at a position where you're that thin, there's a big problem, and it should just be in big flashing red lights. You've got to do something different. There are plenty of teams that are $70 million under the salary cap, which means they're $100 million to the good on where you are. And your team just went what it did record-wise. And so this starts as a Paulson Adebo conversation, as a roster composition conversation, as a conversation that's going, is this a guy that you'd like to keep? Probably. Is this a guy that you can keep? No. Why? Because your salary cap situation stinks. And I keep hearing this rhetoric from those speaking with people inside the Saints organization that are talking about the next month of Saints roster building, that are talking about the Saints going out and spending money. And while they can't dump lump sum on one guy, spending really any significant money is just going to keep you in this spot. And it just seems so crystal clear to all of us who are sitting out here on the outside, whether it's you, the fan, who's listening to me or reading newspapers, reading whatever you are there, like anybody from the outside, it's like, this is obvious. You can't pay the players that you'd like to pay. Change it. And Adebo, to me, presents that. And you may have had, well, I certainly did, the fleeting hope that he would fall back in your lap after that injury. And you hope that he's a full go. And he may still because the market may not pay him. I just suggest it probably will. And if he can go work out with somebody and demonstrate that he's up and running, which Luke Johnson told us yesterday that he's heard that he is, then that's going to be the end of the Paulson Adebo era in New Orleans. And then you have now, over the last, I guess it's March now, so 5 months, you've moved on from your top two corners, Marshawn Lattimore and Paulson Adebo. And by the way, trading Lattimore was a great idea. You recouped a draft pick. Don't have that luxury with Adebo. But that was a position of strength for you 3, 2, 1 year ago. Now it's a position where you're low on depth, and you're going to have to probably use a draft pick on it or potentially dip into the free agent market and get someone theoretically of lesser value than Adebo. So you get worse. See where I'm going with that? Like, it's pretty easy to connect those dots. And that's something that should be so obvious to the Saints when a 25-year-old free agent looks at you and you go, yeah, I got nothing for you. So we'll see. Oftentimes, players test the market and find out that the market doesn't view them in the same way that them and their agent do. But it feels like, based on the reporting that Matthew Parrish is doing, the people that Luke Johnson has talked to, what I'm reading, that the Paulson Adebo era is probably done in New Orleans. So you look at Kool-Aid McKinstry, you say, grow up, kid. Look at Alontae Taylor, say, you got to step it up, kid. And then you probably have to supplement that with whatever you can, however you can, for less expensive. This was something I didn't really know about until this week, what Adebo's status was, but it sounds like he's 1, healthy, 2, very motivated financially, and that means that New Orleans is going to have to sit on the sideline. So if you're looking for more Saints content, you can find it from us at Hunt on Saints. That's Hunt on Saints. You can find us wherever you find your podcast, and, of course, on YouTube as well. Really, really appreciate y'all for subscribing up to that Hunt on Saints YouTube channel. Our things are going fantastically over there, and we really appreciate it. It's all Saints all year long, so if that's your thing, check it out, Hunt on Saints. Doug Thompson going to be on the call this weekend for LSU in North Alabama. Sometimes I have to even think about who LSU is playing in some of these.
Who's the mascot for them?
The Lions.
Yeah.
Lions and Tigers and Bear Jones. I've already got a headline ready if Bear hits a couple homers this weekend. So we'll talk to Doug Thompson, former Tiger national champion and a member of the LSU Sports Radio Network, when we come back on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every single model in the Genesis of Baton Rouge line has gotten the IIHA Top Safety Picks. Some of them Top Safety Picks Plus. How about 3 years of complimentary maintenance? That's a great perk of driving a Genesis. How about 3 years of complimentary valet maintenance? That is a great perk of driving a Genesis. Just picture this. You've got to get an oil change, probably need a little wiper fluid as well, maybe a new air filter, all things that kind of take some time. You may have to drive to the service station, wherever, and kind of uproot your morning. You're not able to be where you need to be. Never the case with Genesis of Baton Rouge. You go to work, you call them, need some service done. Okay. They come to you, drop a car off. So if you do need to do something during the day, you've got a loaner. They drive your car right back to the dealership. They handle the maintenance. It's complimentary for 3 years. They drive it right back to you. How could you be any more convenient than that? The answer is that you couldn't. It's incredible, and it's part of being a Genesis of Baton Rouge driver. Genesis of Baton Rouge is the only fully exclusive Genesis dealer in the States. So if you'd like to get behind the wheel of a Genesis, which you probably have not done because they're fairly new to the game, just put it on your list. Put Genesis of Baton Rouge on your list and get on by and see them. Tell one of their brand ambassadors the Hunt Palmer Show sent you. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge, and you can find them online at genesisofbatonrouge.com.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wild.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environmental impact to help protect our planet. Together, we're fueling our energy future. Atmos Energy.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Friday shows all year long, but especially during Lent, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. If you've got a birthday party coming up, if you want to feed the office or something like that, if you've got a retirement party coming up, anything that's gathering lots of folks. Maybe you're just watching an LSU baseball game. March Madness watch party. Corks is awesome at catering. They can always help you out on the catering side of things. They got those big trays of the crispy fried catfish, shoestring fries, huge trays of the jumbo Gulf shrimp as well. And they do this kind of stuff all the time. So if you're looking to do some catering and want to mix it up a little bit, Corks is always a fantastic option. Tell them you heard about it on the Hunt Palmer Show. They're on their government between Foster and Jefferson, certainly online at corksfishandshrimp.com. They bring you our Friday shows each and every week, and we certainly do appreciate that. LSU North Alabama this weekend. I've talked about it a lot, but I just want to kind of continue because we're looking to hook up with Doug Thompson. There's some things that I want to talk to him about as well. But you're not going to see Gavin Guidry this weekend. But I do think you're going to see Maverick Rizzi jump back on the bump and get another chance. His last outing was not his best, and it's a guy that Jay Johnson thought that would potentially lead LSU in appearances. So I think that they're going to try to get him back on the horse at some point this weekend. We'll see if there's a high leverage spot or not, but I think they're going to try to get him involved, and he's got all the tools. He just needs a little bit more mound time, I think. Speaking of mound time, Doug Thompson has spent some times on the mound, also on the radio headset there for the LSU Sports Radio Network. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Doug, how are you?
Great, Hunter. How are you doing this afternoon, buddy?
I'm doing quite well. How do we get Cade Anderson over the hump there in the sixth inning? What's the secret there?
Well, I think part of it is being efficient, right? Like with his pitch count. Like I think, what was he up to, 90-something pitches in the sixth inning?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think to get past the sixth, I mean, you're going to have to go into the sixth with somewhere around 70, 75 pitches, to get into the seventh inning. So, but that's kind of a double-edged sword. Like those guys that strike out a lot of people, sometimes their pitch count gets elevated because of that. So, I think that's the main thing, though, to try to get through those early innings with as few pitches as possible. that helps you get deeper in the game.
For sure. And look, there's a lot of examples of great aces at LSU that have worked really, really deep into games, and we could go through the list here. But the point being that there have been a number of them. I don't know if I've seen an LSU staff that had quite this much depth, especially if you go into the bullpen and add Ware and Schmidt into the bullpen on the weekends at some point. How important do you think it is for Cade Anderson to be able to go into the 7th, into the 8th inning, or do you think if they can just get 6 good ones from him, they'll be okay?
Well, I think the most important starter of the three in terms of getting a bunch of innings is that Friday night guy. The more innings you can get Friday night, the more you have for everyone else the rest of the weekend, right? So, to me, I think it's a big deal that he can get as deep as possible. Now, does he have to get 7 every Friday night? No, because of all the depth. But if your starter on Friday night can get you into the 8th inning or throw a CG, I mean, dude, things are really looking good for the rest of the weekend.
No question about that. The Saturday guys, Anthony Ianson has been the first 3 weeks, and we expect to see that again on tomorrow. What have you made of his early season? It's kind of gotten mixed reviews. The numbers are pretty good, but there's been some hard contact.
Well, there's been a couple innings, right? Like it's just if you take 2 or 3 innings out of his stat line, he's really, really good. But and that tends to happen, you know. I mean, he seems to always have that one shaky inning, and that's some guys' MO. Like great starters are the ones that, you know, they're going to be consistent, and you know what you're going to get. And sometimes that even means that you know that they're going to struggle early, but that they're going to do what we saw him do last week, where he gave up, I think it was 3 runs in the first inning, but he pitched through the 6th. So to me, that's a sign of a quality starter that can stay locked in and battle through some adversity and stay in the game. Right, that's a huge deal for a starting pitcher.
So are catchers, and we know that LSU has struggled to keep the ball in front a little bit through 3 weeks. What have you seen from that, and how much improvement do you think is realistic as we move into SEC play?
Well, I think those 2 guys would be a great 2-headed monster if they could start swinging a little bit. And as with regard to their catching, you know, I've never really seen a team start off the season 6 games with 50 strikeouts and less than 5 walks. In the last 5 games, I want to say we had 32 walks and even 6 or 7 hit by pitches. So I don't know. I was talking to Alex Milazzo. He said catching might have something to do with that. But it's been very strange over the past 5 or 6 games, at least to me it has, that it's not just one guy that's kind of lost the feel. It seems like the entire pitching staff isn't quite as or they're not quite smothering the zone as they were at the beginning of the year.
Does it matter to pitchers who's back there catching?
Man, that's a great question. I think some pitchers have guys that they prefer throwing to. I was never really a guy that cared too much who was pitching. But yes, absolutely. To some pitchers, at 100%, they have a preferred guy.
Let's talk offense a little bit. I'm not worried about Derek Curiel. I think he's going to be great. I'm not worried about Jared Jones. I know he's going to be great. Milam as well. I'm curious about Dickinson, and I'm just using it as a frame. He's just never stepped up in class into the SEC. I knew he would get off to a good start because he bashed at Utah Valley. If they get this guy in SEC play, I think it transforms the entire team. How do you feel about Dickinson and how he'll translate into the SEC when we get there?
I'm with you. I'm reserved on it. I've watched him be a dude early on. He's leading the team in RBIs. He's leading the team in home runs. And I'm with you 1,000%. If that translates the way it is right now to SEC play, things are looking good. Things are looking real good for LSU this year. But if the pitching ends up being a little tough for him, then I'm with you. Who would be that next guy to sit in the middle of the lineup and help Jared Jones with a little protection?
Jay's going with a freshman, Kason Evans, at the end of games now. How do you feel about that?
He's electric, man. Like, he is really, really good. He's a lot to deal with. That fastball is a real 95, 96. He seems to be, he doesn't seem to be a freshman in those moments. Like, he seems to be completely comfortable out there, and I really like him in that role.
As far as the players go, I kind of call this the dog days here for the fans who were so excited when things started, and now that newness is worn off, and we haven't gotten SEC play yet. How's it for the players right now who are a week away from SEC play, and you got to deal with a school that most of them probably never heard of this weekend?
Yeah, well, this is the weekend before, and you start to kind of feel that excitement throughout the course of this weekend, knowing it gets real next week. And I think you'll see the same thing from the fans. Although I will say, you've been to a couple games outside of the midweek games this week on Mardi Gras Day.
Yeah,
man, I've been pretty pleased with the crowds. Like night one or day one at 2:00, much bigger crowds than I thought, and it seems like there's been more people actually in the stadium this year in this first 12 games than last year, perhaps. So, but I think this is that weekend. I remember as a player being really excited on this weekend, knowing that it's about to get real next week.
Last one here. Now, how do you feel about them at this point through 3 weeks with 1 week to go before SEC play?
I like them. I think they need to gel a little bit as a team. I think there's a couple positions that need to be shored up. Somebody needs to step up and take that catching spot. Somebody needs to step up and take the third base spot. And I feel like there's an outfield spot still available for someone. So there's a few things that are undecided, but I think that that's totally normal at this point of the year. And man, I really like where we are. I mean, you said it early on, depth. The depth of this pitching staff is unusual. I mean, it's extremely extraordinary. So because of that, I'm pretty excited about this year.
I am too. We'll see you this weekend at the box, Doug. Thanks, man.
All right, buddy. Have a good one, Hunt. Thanks for having me.
You too. Doug Thompson, Tiger National Champion, member of the LSU Sports Radio Network. All-around great dude. Always enjoy seeing Duggar up there in the press box for LSU baseball. Next week, Monday and Tuesday, I'll kind of give you my synopsis of where I think LSU is as a team entering SEC play. Now, keep in mind, and I'll say this probably on Monday too, I was dead wrong last year. Dead wrong. Like, way off. I don't run from that. Like, I thought they looked really good in the non-conference. And they showed up in league play, and there were some instances that were out of their control, but some that were very much in their control, and they just weren't any good. And one of the things that was out of their control was the fact that they faced just electrifying arms in game threes. And one of the things that was in their control is they didn't have a third arm. And that cost them against Mississippi State, against Vanderbilt, against Florida. And then you got dusted in Knoxville and in Fayetteville. So, and you're not going to control the schedule either, and those are two of the best programs in the country. But I thought LSU was in really good shape at this point last year, and they weren't. But you had Holman and Jump step forward. You had Herring become a dude. And eventually Larson and Milam won some jobs and helped you get where you needed to be. And by the end of it, LSU was a top 10 team in the country. Now, that is good for absolutely nothing around here. But I think everyone around here knows what championship baseball looks like. I think everyone around here knows what bad baseball looks like. You saw bad baseball, and you got to championship level baseball. LSU was one of the best 10 teams in the country at the end of May last year. And they showed that in Hoover, and they damn near did it in Chapel Hill if Jump could get 3 outs. But because of the situation you put yourself in through 5 weeks of league play, you had to go play North Carolina instead of some ridiculous, at that point, Pac-12 team or something coming to you, and you would have beat them at the box. But that didn't happen. And it got there. It just took too long. And I've looked at LSU's schedule this year in league play, and it's reasonable. You've got a pretty comfy start, and you finish at South Carolina, who I don't think is very good. Now, you've got a stretch in there, 3 weeks, where you've got Tennessee, at A&M, and Arkansas, and that's going to be the toughest 3 weeks in there. But you've also got some weeks in the early part that are very doable. Missouri's one of them, and I think there are some others, and we'll get into the schedule next week. But I've talked around the point, but the point being, like, I'll give you where I think they are next week, given the fact that I was dead wrong last year. But this team looks deeper on the mound. They were not deep on the mound last year. You didn't have a third starter. You had one bullpen guy you could trust. Ackenhausen was in and out. Little was in and out. But then you had a bunch of Javen Colemans and Thatcher Hurds and things that were not consistent. This appears to me to be deeper. And I fully expect this group, because you've got, 11 guys right now that you feel like can pitch. I think that there will be some guys that get hit in league play, and you'll probably shrink that number down to 7. But last year you were at 3. So if you can get 7, 7's good. You can work with 7. And that's kind of where LSU needs to get as quickly as possible. Understand who those guys are and get them out on the mound. You may be able to get away with it against Missouri at home, but when you go to Austin, you need to be ready to play. And they've got 3 weeks to do that. You've got this coming week, 2 weeks. This week, pre-Missouri, and then the week after Missouri. You got 2 weeks with a weekend there to get ready to do it. And that's what you'll all be gunning for, because LSU's done a good enough job, barring a disaster this weekend, of getting through the non-conference the way you need to get through the non-conference. You lose one to Omaha, who cares? You're in good shape. But then you got to be ready to take off when you start league play. Because if you can get off to a good start and get the math in your favor, you don't have to go nuts when you play that 3-weekend stretch that involves 3 of the best programs in the country. And A&M, yes, they're still good, trust me, Arkansas and then Tennessee. So that's where I am. We'll come back and close things out on a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is that website. Mitchell Fisher and his team, phenomenal to work with. How about this? If you deal with Wi-Fi issues in your home, meaning you sit in this room or you're in your bed there and you can't get the internet that you need, how about mesh Wi-Fi? You can boost your signal all over the house. You don't have to walk over towards the router to get your phone to stream properly. You got that one TV in the house that gives you problems. Maybe it's in the guest room, but you do have a guest and they can't watch TV because the smart function, the internet doesn't work quite right. Get mesh Wi-Fi and boost it all around your home. Mitchell Fisher and his team are happy to help you with that. It's not just audio. It's not just video, not just security. It's the whole package with your electronics in your home. Mitchell Fisher and his team at AVSS can handle that. Check them out on Instagram, AVSS_BR. Check them out online, avssla.com. Mitchell Fisher's cell phone number, the owner of the company's cell phone number. I'll put you in touch with him directly. 225-439-7920. 225-439-7920. Give him a call and just let him know what your issue is. He'll be happy to come over and give you all the assistance that he can. They're the People's Choice Award winner for the best vendor at the Parade of Homes. It's Audio Video Security Solutions online at avssla.com.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Join us at the Louisiana Outdoor Expo at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center from March 14th to the 16th next weekend. Head over to the front or back booth and register for your chance to win a U10 New Canoe, a compact, versatile kayak perfect for fishing and hunting adventures. Visit 1045ESPN.com for details. You can also catch the Pels right here on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. They will face the Rockets on Saturday at 6 p.m., and then they'll return home to host the Grizzlies Sunday at 6 p.m. Pelicans coverage is brought to you locally by Industry Makes.
Shout out to Corks, bringing you our Friday shows each and every week. Get on by, get you a shrimp po' boy today from the folks over at Corks. It's a Lenten Friday, and go see them. Government between Foster and Jefferson. All right, back. Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it.
Alrighty, first one here, daylight savings. Take it or leave it.
Is this daylight savings that we're entering, or is that in December,
well, whatever.
November? What
It's happening on Sunday.
Spring forward, we take it.
Yes.
Spring forward rocks.
I'll take it.
Now, my wife contends that you lose an hour of sleep with spring forward.
You do.
You do not.
What do you mean?
Unless you have to get up early.
Okay, well, yeah, sure.
If you have to get up early, and if you have to get up at 7 and you would normally sleep to 8, yes, you do have to set your alarm an hour earlier. But if it's a normal Sunday morning and you're just waking up when you wake up, you just wake up and it is later, but you've slept the amount of time you would sleep.
Yeah.
And we don't go to 7 a.m. mass, so she's not going to lose an hour of sleep. She just likes to complain about the fact that she loses an hour of sleep. Doesn't happen.
No.
That's an old wives' tale.
Yeah, no, and this is a far even if you did lose an hour, it's worth it because now it's not going to be getting dark. It's 5 o'clock as it was for the last 6 months.
I do at a certain point kind of weaponize the darkness against Myers.
Oh, well, that is a thing.
That is you need to chill out and we got to go take a bath. It's dark outside.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem.
That's not going to be able to happen here moving forward, but
Yeah.
I'm willing to trade that off. We'll be okay. I like it staying daylight. We've talked about this before. When I used to be a much younger man and I didn't have a wife and kid, the extra daylight was phenomenal for golf.
Oh,
that
yeah.
doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
So we'll just that's a lost perk, but I still just prefer it.
Yeah, I do too. All right, next one, cold showers. Take it or leave it.
I got to tell you, back.
Leave it alone.
I didn't even say anything.
I knew you were going to leave it. I mean, who would take a cold shower? I
think some people take cold showers.
Well, I will say
to quote George on Seinfeld, they're for psychotics.
I will say that after a long day at the beach, that it can be nice to take a somewhat cold shower.
God, no. We had a little hot water issue in the Palmer house last night into this morning. We had to take a cold one this morning. It's just not good. It's bad. It's a lot of deep breathing.
Yeah.
A lot of that going on. Powering through. It's a tough scene. I was wide awake, but it was bad. I hated it, but I just got word as of 6 minutes ago, we're all good.
All right.
We like to hear that. That was bad.
Yeah, that's not good. Not good. All right, next one here, shooting 80 at Bay Hill. Take it or leave it.
Oh, I'd take it. I'd love to shoot 80 at Bay Hill.
Yeah, but what if you're a professional golfer?
Then you're on my fantasy golf team. That's basically what would happen.
Pretty much.
Shout out Matt McNeely. I don't know how he's going to afford to get back home.
Yeah,
after
that might be
the
a problem. He's really been scrounging for the making this
tour. He did
tour.
a podcast the other day talking about how people chant "Daddy's money" at him at the events, which is loser activity.
That is pretty stupid.
For those who are completely unaware, Matt McNeely's dad is a massively successful tech entrepreneur worth billions of dollars, and so his missing the cut's not going to hurt too bad there at Bay Hill. But
it
I
hurts
had
you at
fantasy
least.
golf, and that hurts me significantly.
Yeah, so
I'm
how many?
atrocious. At
Yeah, I was going to
fantasy
say,
golf.
how many weeks in a row have you had?
He was in the top 10 at like 4 p.m. yesterday.
He was.
He made a double in 18 and then shot 80s. He missed the cut. It's just awful.
Yeah. That's okay.
I'm not putting my team in position to win. I gotta get in the film room.
You gotta get better.
I gotta be better.
Yeah, you do for sure. I mean, nobody's no one's gonna go to Hunt Palmer for fantasy golf advice. That's just a fact at this point. I mean, there's no reason.
It is a fact.
There's no reason.
one has ever done that.
No, and there's no reason to, because it's very clear from the results that you're not.
I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna win the
cutting it.
next 6,
Okay.
including Augusta.
Oh, that sounds good. All right, last one. Auburn will rout Alabama tomorrow. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it. I heard Jimmy earlier on Live at Lunch. I think he's loading up on Auburn, thinks they exhaled for the game over there at Texas A&M. They're going to come back and hammer Alabama. I don't think so. I think Alabama's going to hang in there. I think they're going to make some shots. I think Auburn will win. But what's hammering them? I would say 13. I think it'll be less than 13
Alabama's
points.
got so much firepower. Even if they get down by 20 at some point, they can just easily go on a 15-0 run or something and then cut. Even if
it would be
they
tough to go on a
losing.
15-0 on Auburn.
It would be, but if anyone can do it, it's probably Alabama.
I saw a thing on the internet today that Chad Baker-Mazara, who's 25,
is going to come back. Yes.
might have another year left.
Yeah.
26-year-old wing? That's just ridiculous.
Hey, I mean, Hunt, there's plenty of people that are in college at 26.
I had gotten out by 26. So that means
that
you gotta get out.
was a miracle. Let's just be honest.
Look,
it wasn't
Once
easy.
I got into journalism school, we got it done. When we were in business,
that's tough.
Things were not good.
Tough scene.
The econ grades, not great.
That's-
Business calculus, awful.
Oh no, I can't
But
imagine.
Mass comm was okay.
You can't.
You don't have to imagine. It was a withdraw, so a W,
Yeah.
an F, and then a C, which
Yeah,
is passing.
I mean, you struggle with basic math, so that's not
business calculus,
not
derivatives
good.
and stuff, just completely worthless. 1, and I sucked at it. So that's 2. That's it for today. We're done for the week. Appreciate Corks for bringing you our Friday shows. If you missed anything, catch it on demand. Matt's going to drive you home next one after further review. We are back on Monday, same time, same place. Have a safe weekend and a good one. We're back on Monday. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional